This is our fifth lesson in the series, and today we are going to talk about pronouns. Um, this is exactly the same as my previous video that was on noun. So there are, as I said, there are different categories that apply to a noun, and there are different types of other cases or rules that apply to a noun. So in the same way, almost the same things apply to a pronoun. So if you haven't watched my previous video, so I would say please go and watch that, because and I would suggest basically to watch them in a sequence, because all of them are connected to each other, so you could say interconnected. That would make things easier for you, but obviously you can watch anything anytime, and if you don't understand anything, just go back and watch them again. Try to make notes, try to write things. They say that when you write, something happens, a magic happens. So try to make a habit of writing things instead of just listening or watching. That is something which is missing. Now we are basically trying to learn things from our exams perspective, especially if you are a GCSE student or a functional skills student. Then obviously I would suggest you to write as much as you can, because in exam you have to write. Yeah, you can't tell them, it's not an interview. So that's why make a habit of writing things. All right, so what is a pronoun? So first of all, a word that is used in place of a noun is called a pronoun. Okay, it basically tries to avoid any kind of repetition, because repetition of a noun is not a very good idea. But then you could say that if we repeat the pronoun, well, if we have a noun and we don't want to use that again and again, we can use pronoun. That's not a bad idea. But repeating the name again and again is not something which is liked. So for example, we have different types of pronouns: he, she, it, they, we. Okay, so these are some of the pronouns. There are many obviously, but these are just to represent singulars and plurals and some genders. So for example, he and she is used for human beings, they is used for human beings, we is used for human beings, but it is not used for human beings. It is used for non-living things, for something which is inanimate. Okay, or sometimes it is used for animals, yeah, or sometimes it is used for, as you remember, for neuter nouns, nouns that do not have any gender. Okay, right, so the next is the person of a pronoun. So you might have heard that the pronouns are first person, second person, third person. So this is what is known as the person. Means they you could say it's a kind of narrative voice: first person, second person, third person. So we have first person, which is I and we. Then we have second person, which is you and thou. Obviously thou is an old language, and but it's good to learn things in Shakespearean time or other, in old language, in old times, they would say thou instead of you. So yeah, if it still works, but obviously it's not very common. And the third person is he, she, and it. Okay, so the first person is basically when the narrator is speaking, when you are speaking, when you're writing. This is very important when you are doing your write-ups. For example, when you're writing a letter or when you're writing a story, if it is from the first person perspective, so you are actually in the story, you are the character. Or if you are not the character, you get into your character. For example, you have created a character and you want to narrate the story from that character's point of view, so you would use I. And if it is more than one character, then you would use we. Second person is you. So the you is basically used mostly in speeches when you are speaking to the audience or speaking to the reader. For example, you must stop animal slaughter, or you must stop, or you must do something to stop global warming. These are the type of things so that you use. You is basically used for speeches, direct address. The third person is very powerful, and that third person is used mostly in stories when you want to write from third person perspective, and that gives you more opportunities to describe the scenes, describe people's feelings. Because if you are writing from the first person, you can only talk about your perspective, things that you see, you understand, you feel. But in the third person, you can talk about every character's inner feelings, inner thoughts. You could be anywhere. So it's just like staying like a godlike figure and watching things from above. Okay, but anyhow, these are the three types of pronouns that are used in English. Now, different kinds of pronoun. There are different kinds of pronouns. For example, personal pronoun, reflexive pronoun, relative pronoun, emphatic pronoun, interrogative pronoun, demonstrative pronoun, and indefinite pronoun, and distributive or reciprocal pronoun. Now, I would like to talk about them. So, for example, let me see, one more, possessive pronoun. Yes, so these are some of the pronouns. You don't, I would say, these are the technical names, and these are some of the examples here. You don't have to know the technical names. It is good, obviously, it is good to increase your knowledge and all that stuff, but if you don't know, you should know how to use them. So, for example, anything that is about I, we, she, I mean anything about human beings is personal pronoun. These are also personal pronouns. Remember, in English grammar, sometimes different categories apply to one thing. Okay, you remember when we talked about the noun. So a noun can be a common noun, but at the same time it could be a concrete noun. At the same time it could be an abstract noun. Sorry, not concrete and abstract couldn't be, but at the same time it could be a countable noun. At the same time it could be a common noun. So in the same way, I is a personal pronoun, whereas myself, and these are also personal pronouns, but they have different now category. So reflexive is from reflection. Okay, so let me look at this thing here. Okay, so for example, you are here, and that is a kind of mirror. So if something goes here and comes back to you, then it is reflected. That's why it is called reflexive. For example, myself. So sometimes you try to emphasize things. You say, oh yes, I saw that. That's fine. Well, I saw that myself. Okay, so you are basically saying this action of seeing. You saw something, let's say an incident. I saw that incident myself. You saw that incident, and then it comes back to you again. Okay, the action of seeing, you are first saying I saw the incident, this is the incident. Myself means you are again referring back to. So that's why it is called reflexive, because this action goes to the object and then comes back to you. Okay, so it is kind of putting more emphasis on some. He himself has written this thing. Okay, so it means that we are saying, so we could say he has written this, but he himself has written this, which implies that he did not get anybody else's help. Okay, so he is responsible for this writing, and he is the only person who has written. That's why we use the reflexive pronouns. Relative pronoun is it's when you relate to somebody, whom, whose, who. These are some examples. Relative pronouns. Now this is the pronoun that you use to talk about somebody, and then basically you try to identify them. For example, if I say this is the man whom I saw in the market. Okay, so whom I saw means this is the man whom I saw in the market. Okay, so it means this is not any man, this is the same person that was seen here. Okay, so I am basically relating a story in this sentence which connects these two people. Okay, so this is the man whom I saw in the market, so this is the same man. Okay, so this is how it works. So relative pronoun is basically very similar to reflexive because it identifies something or pinpoints somebody or something. Emphatic or intensive pronoun is once again himself. You could see that, as I said, that different categories apply to one thing sometimes. In English, for example, a common noun can be a concrete noun. A common noun can be an abstract noun, but it is still a common noun. Yeah, a common noun can be a group noun or a collective noun, but it is still a common noun. In the same way, intensive or emphatic means when you emphasize on something. As I said, that when you try to emphasize something, you try to use myself, ourselves, himself, themselves. So this is also the same thing, reflexive and emphatic. Interrogative means when you use what, why, when, how to question. Okay, so these are some of those pronouns which start a sentence. Demonstrative is this, that means they demonstrate what we are talking about. Okay, for example, if I say this is the book that I bought, okay, this is the one, so we are basically pointing towards that. Okay, these are those people who didn't do their homework or whatever. So you are basically demonstrating to somebody that this or that or these people we are talking about. Indefinite is almost the opposite of this thing, which means that you are not talking about any specific person. You are talking in general terms. For example, anyone who does his work will pass the exam, or anyone who comes to the class will be successful. So it could be Tom, it could be Sarah, it could be both of them. Okay, so we are not differentiating here. So we don't know basically when we say anyone. Okay, one needs to work, we don't know who this one is, it could be anyone. Okay, now somebody knocked at the door, you don't know. Yeah, you don't know that somebody. If that somebody is known, you wouldn't say somebody. Okay, you would say she knocked at the door, or she is the one who knocked at the door. So distributive or reciprocal is each, either, and neither. So each one. So basically what you do is in distributive and reciprocal is that, so for example, 1 2 3 4 5 people, so every one of those means, why is it distributive? Because I'm not talking about the whole group in general. I'm saying every one of the group received one book. So means this person received a book, this person received a book, this person received a book, this person received a book. But if I say the group received the book, so maybe most of them have received the book, but maybe not this person. So when I say each of them is responsible, for example, each of them is responsible means this is responsible, this is responsible. All right, so each is used when there are two people, every is used when there are more than two people. Possessive is my, our, and your. So possessive pronoun basically does one very simple thing. It shows our belonging, it shows our property. So this is my mobile phone, this is your house, this is our class. You understand that? So these are different types of pronouns, and we use them according to their according to the situation. For example, if you want to let's say show our possession, yeah, so we will use this one. And if we want to let's say ask a question, so we will use this. Depends on what we want to say. The next thing is case of pronoun. Okay, so this is, when I was doing talking about the noun, we touched on this thing. So here we go. So if we have first person second person, third person, then these are different types of cases that apply to a noun. For example, this one is the subjective case, means these are the pronouns which will always start the sentence. Now remember one thing, this is the subjective case and this is the objective case, which means these are sentence starters and these are sentence finishers, you could say. So they cannot come here. Okay, so I will put a cross here. These cannot be used in objective case, and these ones cannot start a sentence. Okay, so these cannot start a sentence. You cannot say me is going. All right, you cannot say me and my friend did this. It is impossible, because me and my friend is fine because that is the nominative or subjective case, but me is not the subjective case. So this is wrong when you say me and my friend. Well, look at this thing. No, you would say I and my friend, or my friend and I, whatever sequence. It is no problem at all. Okay, so these are all which start a sentence. Okay, so for example, we shall go, we shall speak to them. Okay, or we shall speak to him, or he spoke to me. Okay, so these are the ones which come at the end of a sentence. These are the ones which show possession because they are possessive. Okay, and these are the ones which also show possession, but there's a difference. Okay, now you could say this is my book, yeah, but you cannot say this is mine book. Okay, well, look at the difference between this thing. So you could say this is my book, yeah, so this book belongs to you, for example. But if you said this book is mine, I can tell you a very simple principle. This should be, if you use this possessive pronoun, this should be the last word before full stop. Okay, so only a full stop can come after that. This is ours, this is yours, this is his. Okay, so this is how you do it. And myself, ourselves, and yourself, we have already talked about these. These are reflexive pronouns. So these are different types of pronouns. The most important thing is this section. Okay, so have a look at this: subjective case, objective case, and possessive. These are the most important things to remember. I'm sure that you understand this, and I hope that it's not very difficult for you to learn these things. Well, if you still have any questions, you can ask me. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the best. Good luck. Bye.